Okay, yeah, there we go. So now you can ask your question.
Okay, I was curious, what would you know, at one point you probably ate meat, right? And all kinds of regular food foods. How did you finally get to that point where you just said, okay, no more?
Well, okay, I was a bodybuilder for a long time, so I thought filet mignon and stir-fried vegetables was the highest on the list you could go. I thought, surely I'm at the pinnacle of human nutrition. Filet mignon, stir-fried vegetables. Well, that was, so I did eat a lot of meat, but one day it was kind of a miracle for me. I mean, I had been drinking a little bit of wheatgrass here and there, carrot juice, brown rice and vegetables, trying to eat good as a bodybuilder, but the filet mignon and stir-fried vegetables. But then one day I was in a bookstore and I read this little book called The Essene Gospel of Peace, and it's reportedly Jesus Christ teaching people how to fast and eat raw foods to heal themselves from diseases. So I read this book in one night, and I don't know if it was a dream or if it was really real, but out of the sky came a light, surrounded me, and I felt deep inside that I was supposed to do this, or be a raw vegan, and stop eating animals and stop drinking milk. Except for in the book it says to, that the fruits of the trees, the grains and the grasses of the field, the milk of beasts and the honey of bees. So within the first couple months of being on raw food, I went and bought a couple of goats and started milking them because I thought I have to have my protein. But I just started eating fruits and vegetables instantly. That night I went from a full-blown, pumped up, out of my mind, steroid stimulant bodybuilder, alcoholic drug addict, to overnight just, raw vegan. Because this book was so clear. It was so clear about what you're supposed to do, and it made more sense to me than anything. When you read a book with that much consciousness, if you're ripe for it, it'll hit you, and I was ripe for that little book, and it's a very high level of consciousness in the Essene Gospel of Peace, and so that's like what it did was basically watered the seeds that I had planted from the other hundreds of books that I read as a bodybuilder and nutritionist. But when I found out about the raw foods, I said, no wonder I feel better every time I go and drink a couple shots of wheatgrass and go to the gym. I can work out a lot longer. And then I understood why that was. All of a sudden, the living food. It says, eat the living food and the same will quicken you. In other words, eat living food and it will make you more alive. And if you eat the dead food, what you eat, all that you eat that is dead, creates death in your body. And I was like, it says it differently than that, but it was so clear to me. And of course, I didn't do perfect overnight. I'm still not perfect. I do very, very well. I'm 99% raw food. In the last 3 months, I've had some cooked corn. I've had some cooked grape juice, and I've had some steamed broccoli and cauliflower with my kids. Other than that, I'm basically 99% raw. But it took me a long time to get there. But that day when that light came down, it was very clear on what I was supposed to do, what I'm here to do, and what my future was going to be from that day on. And when I first started raw foods, I was so pure and innocent. I would eat apples, because I lived on an apple orchard, and I would eat these salads. And I was so pure, and then that was like, I thought I was the only raw food guy in the world. I called my parents, I said I need to come home and start a garden and get out of the city. I took my shoes off, I started meditating, and I planted a garden, and I was milking my goats, and I was doing really well. And then I found out that there's other raw foods. Then I started going to retreats, gourmet, and I kind of spiraled downward. Moved to New York, got into the chocolate, got kind of strung out on the chocolate because David Wolf made it sound so good, And I have nothing against chocolate. I think it's an important part of the diet for women, for me, the path that I have is really helping people. Is I found out after 11 years of experience that raw food is the way to go. Cool, good. Well, you look official, and official people scare me. we're getting away with something. I don't know what it is. It was just going to be a couple of my buddies, but I don't know where it got out.
It's all good.
Good. Well, see no evil. This is all good though. So, does that answer your question? I mean, sort of.
Yeah.
It took me a long time. The meat was easy. I think in the last 11 years, in the first year, I had meat like 3 times. One night because I got drunk, and I went and had tacos, and I burped up taco meat 3 days later, and that wasn't the last time I had meat, but that showed me if you're burping up taco meat 3 days later, that ain't right. That's not digestion, because that never happens with cherries. I eat cherries, and 8 hours later, there's cherries. This is taco meat burping up 3 days later. It hit me profoundly. The last time I ate meat was my family. Well, my ex-wife's family was giving me such a hard time. We were poor, we were starving, we hate you for doing this, you should just eat everything that's there. It brought up all their stuff. We were starving when we were kids, how can you do this with your raw foods and be such an elitist? You're such a punk and all this. They made me feel really bad. I said, well, does this make you feel better? I took a piece of chicken and ate it right in their face. I said, and I ain't even tripping. You don't even know. I do this for a different reason. We have too much food now. We're eating ourselves. First, we were starving, and when there was the 1929 and the Depression. Okay, so that's a problem. Starving is a problem. But now we're eating ourselves to death, and that's another problem. So somewhere in the middle, we're finding a balance between whole natural foods. And nobody has to be intense about it, like I am. You can get to 80% raw, but you got to eat fruits and vegetables. You got to eat leafy green herbs to heal your body, to connect you with the earth. And then you have to eat fruits for energy. Berries are particularly beneficial with their antioxidants. Melons, cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, just low sugar fruits and the high sugar fruits for cellular energy. And then when you want to build muscle, you break out the nuts and seeds and you learn to activate those and bring those to life. A lot of people eat nuts and seeds, but they don't soak them. So it's just like eating like rocks, because they're protected. They're not going to activate until you soak them, remove the enzyme inhibitors and the phytates, which are metabolic waste. But when you soak the sunflower seed, pow! Now you take a picture of that sucker and it's got that electromagnetic energy. It's living food. Raw food is this. If this thing was still growing in the ground out of its roots, with the sun and the water, it would be living food. That's why I like wheatgrass. That's why I like sprouts. There's a little bit of a difference, a subtle difference between plucking an orange off the tree and eating it. That's living food. And then getting an orange that's been picked 3 weeks ago or even 3 months ago. It's still good food, and it's better than like deep fried donuts. But the living food, that's why we want to get the food that's in season, fresh. These cherries are coming off the tree 3 or 4 days. You bite into them and the cherries crunch like popcorn. But if they're 2 or 3 weeks old, they get mushy and they're not as good, and you got to pick the rotten ones out. So the fresher the food, the more energy it has, the more it illuminates you. And the wheatgrass and the green juices are extremely beneficial foods, and right there you go, green juice. So just be patient, never give up. Who cares? Take the rest of your life to do this, and keep on growing and evolving, and never get stuck. You're always going to change. You're always going to need something different. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, sometimes you need to gain a little weight, sometimes you need to lose a little weight. Nuts in the wintertime, I'll take my shirt off, 11 degrees, and go out and run around in the snow. If I'm trying to do a juice fast in the middle of winter, my body temperature is always 2 degrees colder because the juicing is cooling, which is good because in the inflammatory conditions, you want to use the green stuff to cool off all that inflammation, that fire in your joints, the fire in your cells. So the green juices, they put out that fire. Inflammation is the disease of this world. It's metabolic wastes that are trapped. So go green, get clean, and run like a machine. You know what I mean? Did you have a question? Or are you just excited?
Well, I was going to ask about bodybuilding. How do you do it on a raw food diet? Should I do it like 6 days a week, like maybe 20 minutes a day, or
It depends
what's
on the
your-
cellular turnover that you have. If you eat really, really clean and you eat a lot, you can probably work out 4 or 5 days a week. For most people, 3 to 4 days a week, because they're not eating that perfect diet where they're having that real fast turnover and cellular repair. But really, when you start to do the bodybuilding, that's when you bring in nuts and seeds, and also the greens. When you eat the nuts, it's good to bring in the greens, because then you've got this nice neutral platform. And the greens and the nuts are building foods, and the fruit is the energy. So like if what I do on the ride, let's say I ride my bike every day, like hella far, I go with the fruit all day long, and that just energizes the cells. But then at the end of the day, I need amino acids to repair tore tissue. So then I'll eat the greens and the nuts and the fats at night. Wake up in the morning, do it all again. So fruits for energy, and then the greens and the hemp seeds and soaked almonds and sunflower seeds and avocados to put on weight, but a very large volume of greens, you know what I mean, along with those foods. And you're golden. The fats and the greens mellow you out, bring you back down to earth. The fruits are very ascending, so if you want to get spiritual and you can handle that kind of spiritual energy, you eat a larger volume of fruit. The fruit is an ascending kind of energy. It really lifts you up, lifts your consciousness up. It sort of takes you off the planet. It helps you look down at your problems and go, no big deal, Your problems, fruit is very spacious, And then the greens and stuff, those are kind of more grounding. So you have to use raw food to your advantage. You take every bit that you can from any teacher, and you say, now that makes sense to me, and that seems like it would work for me, and you try it. The last 11 years has been nothing but an experiment for me. This ride is really profound too. I'm seeing the first half of this bike ride for about 1,500 miles, I ate nothing but fruits and lettuce. And then on this last half, I started bringing in more nuts and seeds and stuff. So I'm a little slower, and my endurance isn't as good, but I was a toothpick. I put on about 5 pounds of nice muscle, when I brought the nuts and seeds and the fat and a lot more greens. So you just have to learn about raw foods and use those raw foods to your advantage. How to work it out. You want to lose some weight? Well, then you pull all the nuts and the seeds out, all the fat out, you move your lymphatic system, you get massages, you bounce on the rebounder, and you exercise. And you use fruit and green juice. And it just flushes and cleanses and heals. But eventually you're going to get kind of thin, and you're going to want to put on some weight. How do you do that? You do that with the greens and the fruits. The greens and the nuts. So there's a lot of discrepancies, but I made a video today. You all should watch it. It's very short, again, 12 minutes. But I just talk about the context. I have a mentor that uses fruit and herbs, and he heals. But he's a healer. He's a detoxifier. And then my friend Lou Corona, some of you have seen those videos. He's more of a power guy. He's been doing raw foods for 37 years. You can't do a fruit diet for 37 years. You're going to be a toothpick. It's very hard to eat enough fruit. You have to spend 4 or 5 hours a day eating fruit in order to keep weight on. And you have to eat a lot of fruit. And it's not practical for everyone. It's a great way. And if you can swing it and you're in Hawaii and the fruit is dripping with minerals and it's just falling off, you shake the tree and it falls into your hands, but that's not these fruits. These fruits are picked 2 or 3 weeks early. They're not as ripe. They're a little more acid forming, because fruit that ripens up on the tree is far more alkalinizing. Because once the sugars are sweet, you walk up to the mango tree, you shake it, and you catch a couple. Those are the ones, and then you bite into it, and it melts into your face, and the alkalinity's there. The problem is the fruitarian ideal is great, but we're all at Whole Foods in St. Louis, and we're getting these foods from everywhere. But right now the cherries are dripping with flavor. But the oranges, those are all a few months old, sitting in a silo. The apples, those are all several months old, or coming from New Zealand, So, you can only do your best in this world. But the principle of eating living food is very simple. It's, it's alive. And if I cook this, all the enzymes would be destroyed. These enzymes are little proteins that allow cells to communicate. Okay? Here's something that I'll mention. A lot of the toxins that are in our environment, the pesticides, the poisons, the shampoos, and everything, and the vaccinations, those actually latch on and fill receptor sites. They sort of inhibit the function of your cells because each enzyme is a protein key. So these toxins bind to those key points, and it inhibits the function of cells to communicate. Okay? So when you detox, you remove all that stuff because the DNA is like, these do not belong here. But if the toxins store up and store up and store up, these cells cannot communicate with each other. As soon as you have real living enzymes that are proteins, that are like little spark plugs of information conduits, this cell can connect with that cell, and through the enzyme they can communicate. And through the whole body, you've got this unison working. And so all the cells are communicating. Every organ, gland, tissue, brain, eyeballs, ears are functioning in unison. But if the toxins build up from fried foods, pesticides, the air from the cars, the stuff they shoot us up with at the hospitals, the medicine we took when we were kids, all that stuff. Coffee is not the best. I'm not against anything. I'm not like against wine or against beer or against coffee. But the cells really want pure water and pure oxygen and electricity, and then you need a little bit of amino acids. You need more sugar. You need more sugar than anything, sugar for the cells. A lot of people have a problem here getting candida and all that, but it's, the candida is kind of a mold. You're just fermenting. If you eat fruit, you should go outside and play. You know what I mean? You can't just eat a bunch of fruit and sit behind your desk because it will ferment. You know what I'm saying? It's like and what happens is if you've got bad gas in your car, the car's going to smoke. You know what I mean? But if you got the best fuel and you're running down the racetrack clean, you're burning clean. So that's why you want to eat good and move. Go play, go live, go do something, get excited. But the problem is we got all these dead foods, and it's normal for us to eat food that's just dead. And so everyone's like, oh, I don't want to go. When you're a raw food dude like me, you got to go out. You got to go do something. I can't even burn it off 80 miles a day on my bicycle. I still have a bunch left over when I get back and can't sleep sometimes, And I wake up real early again to go again. When you eat the raw foods, there's this thing in your soul. It's alive. There's an aliveness there, The body has a hard time keeping up with the aliveness of the soul. This body's going to get burned up because the damn soul in there. It's just going to use this thing up. And there's nothing I can do about that. You can manipulate the protoplasm with detox and fasting, but you should really, really the focus is to enhance your vitality, enhance your soul, enhance your spiritual energy, so that all you do, you go to places and you reach out to people and they feel your heart, and then you lift up the whole world by that inner electrical energy, by choosing life every time you eat. Which, every time you eat, if it's the choice of life, that's the mind saying, I choose life. Now the body, the cherries, just go through the organism a lot easier than the fried chicken. The fried chicken really takes a lot of metabolic and systemic energy to process. But the cherries, they just kind of process themselves. A little bit of peristalsis from the GI tract, bam, it's out of there. The cherry stems are clean, nothing left behind. Fried chicken leaves a lot of stuff behind. Gummy, caked up, then your liver gets all caked up, your GI tract gets caked up, and you've got mucus from the tip of your tongue to your anus. And you don't want the mucus because then the cells can't breathe. To enhance the respiration of your cells with raw foods, oxygen, sunlight, your thoughts, and love, you know, that's what you want. All you need to do is think of one cell. I just think of one cell in the center of my heart, and I just work on that one. And if I just work on that one cell and nurture it, feed it with green juice, and eat the fruit, all the rest of them get the same treatment. You're just 100 trillion cells waiting to be nurtured, fed, and bathed. And then you want to get rid of those fluids. You know, those fluids around the cells. Lewis Carroll did an experiment for 30 years where he took a chicken heart, and as long as he kept changing the water, the fluid in which the chicken heart, it would keep beating. It stayed alive for 30 years. And I guess the story goes that one day, one of the lab techs forgot to change the waste products because the chicken heart was beating and it would produce metabolic waste products. If you change those fluids out, the heart kept going. As soon as it drowned it in its own waste, there goes those cell functions. So if we're drowning in our own waste, then we're going to suffocate our cells, and they're going to slow down, and we're going to gain the stomach, and the cellulite's going to come on there, and the mind is going to get foggy, and the bowels aren't going to work well, and we're going to live a mediocre life, and we're going to get pills and shots and surgeries, and we'll never really get our life back, and we'll just go out like that. But that's not really my style, you know what I mean? I'm going to if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be driving a Lamborghini, not a Pinto. A lot of people think it's so they have a Pinto and that's cool. They don't want to do the work to soup it up, which is to change your diet, change your heart, and change your mind. The heart, you change the heart by just forgiving everyone for everything. You know, everybody's doing their best, and you just change your heart by loving everyone, forgiving everyone, the people that hurt you in the past. That's all good. Something probably happened to them too, worse than you. The other guy's story is a lot worse than yours is. He's having a worse day than you are. You might not see it because he's got a nice tie, a nice car, and a pretty wife, and a bank full of money, but he's miserable. So you're going to get jealous of him and be mad at him and say, oh, that stupid yuppie, he's the problem in the world. No, it's not, because he's suffering worse than you are. Believe it. He just silently goes to his cubicle and just wonders, God, how am I going to make it through another day? That's how most people are. How am I going to make it through another day on this planet, you know? I know I was like that for a long time. I was a total drug addict. I couldn't even function without drugs. Some people understand that, some people don't. Food is a drug that some people can't function without. Take away their cookies, they don't know what to do. Their McDonald's is like the ultimate drug. So many chemicals in there, people don't even know how strung out. I've been across America. There's one thing for certain that you're going to find in the next town, that's a fast food joint. Am I going to be able to find a watermelon? I don't know about that. Am I going to be able to find some decent salad or lettuce? Don't know about that either. But there will be a McDonald's there. There will be a Pizza Hut. There will be a Domino's. There will be a Subway. But there might not be fresh food. So I got to ride another 40 miles to the next town because all they had was a few bananas. And that ain't going to get me through the next day tomorrow. I got to find a town with a grocery store where I can get real food. Because I'm doing this, I'm going from Los Angeles to New York on fruits and vegetables on my bicycle. And how do I look? Do I look like I'm falling apart here or what? Do I need to go eat some animals? I don't care if people eat animals or what. Some of the basics, you know, you can eat a little bit of that stuff, but really it's the fried food, the processed food. There's integrity foods and non-integrity foods. Really, I mean, some steamed broccoli isn't going to kill you, but the steamed broccoli, you got to understand, when the broccoli is fresh and raw, it's much more electrical, much more vibrational. When the broccoli is cooked, it loses a lot of that electromagnetic energy, which is okay. You might use the broccoli just to calm down at the end of a hard day. If you're using broccoli as your drug or a baked potato, that's a lot better than like Haagen-Dazs or something like that. There's no good or bad or right or wrong in any of this. There's only, you know, you can really go up, and if you go up with the energy, with the green juice, which heals, and the fruits, which energize, then you just have to be able to deal with everything that's going to come up. And that's the biggest thing that stops people, is that you're going to, Emotions get trapped in the cells. Trauma gets trapped. Lower back problems, whatever it is. You had no support in your life. Your parents didn't support you, and now you're 43 and you have back problems. And as soon as you get some support in your life, you start to notice all these things interrelate. And it's not just about the food. But what I like to do is use the food to energize, the love and forgiveness for the heart, because the love and the forgiveness is your power center. That's your power generator. The more love